Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the May 5th Board of Commissioners work session to order. Our Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Brian Shapiro, our Director of Finance tonight.
Oh, gosh. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. He's so excited.
Thank you. Ms. Logan, can you do the roll call?
Catherine Carter, President.
Here.
Rebecca Moody, Vice President.
Here.
Denise Hall, Commissioner.
Here.
Ms. McNaney, Commissioner.
Here.
Greg Mull, Commissioner.
Here.
Sandra Zidell, Township Manager.
Here.
Megan Weaver, Assistant Township Manager.
Here.
Lauren Gallagher, Township Solicitor.
Here.
Nicholas Cross, Township Engineer.
Here.
David Duffy, Chief of Police. Brian Shapiro, Finance Director. David Conroy, Zoning Officer.
Thank you. Next up, we'd like to invite the VMSC to come up with their update. Chief, please.
Good evening.
Chief, just make sure that the green light is on. It might not be.
The green light.
Got it. It's
Got me
on.
now?
Yep.
Okay, great. Thanks. Good evening. I appreciate the opportunity to address the board and provide an update on the 2024 EMS responses for Upper Gwynedd. We answered 1,376 responses over the course of 2024. Our average shoot time, which is the time it takes us to get out the door, is 42 seconds. Our average response time is the time we receive the call to the time we're actually arriving at the location is 8 minutes and 4 seconds. Our average time on the call is 59 minutes, and our agency on status was 100%. Interestingly, we received mutual aid 18 times in 2024 and provided mutual aid 151 times from our Upper Gwynedd location. Some things were the most common call we responded to in the township was a sick person. That's kind of a catch-all kind of thing. But the second most common call was falls, which is pretty common across all of the municipalities that we service. The falls is either the number one or number two most frequently requested service that we respond to. Traffic accidents accounted for 9% of our responses. We responded to 22 reports of cardiac arrest in Upper Gwynedd. Of those, 12 were in a status that we initiated CPR with our first responder partners, our law enforcement, and fire companies. Of the 12 patients that we initiated CPR on, 3 of those patients were successfully resuscitated and returned home. Just recently, we had a patient from February 20th who went into cardiac arrest, CPR initiated by law enforcement, and that patient was recently discharged home. I think we're going to be celebrating that in the June meeting, so we're really proud of that work. We continue to outpace the Commonwealth and the nation with our cardiac arrest survival. It's nearly double that as the Commonwealth and the nation. Our survival rates, we're super proud of that. We've rolled out blood transfusions in the field. We're happy to report that we're one of, I think, 5 EMS agencies in the Commonwealth and among about 146 EMS services in the United States that have the capability to do a blood transfusion in the field. So we're super proud of that capability as well. We've added hospital-grade equipment that includes ventilators that we utilize in post-arrest situations when we have to sedate a patient, et cetera, or they're not breathing properly. We now have ventilators on our ambulances that are really making a big difference. As well, portable ultrasound and advanced formularies, all the things that really we believe we're providing a real premier level of EMS for our communities. Thanks in part to the $100,000 contribution that Upper Gwynedd made in 2024. Thank you. we were able to do our first in-house paramedic program where 10 students that were VMSE staff completed the program. They started and completed, and we now have 10 new paramedics in our operation. So really excited about that program. And obviously the difference between an EMT and a paramedic is about 1,500 additional hours of training. So super excited about that. So those are kind of the things that we've had going on in 2024. We're excited about 2025 with another paramedic program that's got 13 students in it, several EMT programs, an advanced EMT program, and lots of other ongoing educational opportunities, as well as plans to upgrade our cardiac monitors and several other innovations we have on task for this year. I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have.
I don't have any questions. I just want to say thank you very much for all the work that you and your teams and all the first responders do. It really does make literally the difference in life or death to our community members and our loved ones. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate the confidence that the board has placed in our organization and the commitment to invest in the emergency medical services that all of us really, truly benefit. I'm an Upper Gwynedd resident myself. And so, I think you have superb first response, not just your EMS, which is great, but your law enforcement, your fire service. You've really got great public safety system in place here.
Chief, can you speak to the part down here where you talk about the lung assessments and Z-vent ventilators? What are those things?
Yeah, so the hospital grade equipment. So we're not sure. There's not very many that can do field ultrasounds, but essentially we utilize field ultrasound units that give us a little better and more accurate assessment. Obviously, being able to see into the various spaces that we're looking into, primarily using that in a respiratory assessment to differentiate between CHF and pneumonia, asthma, et cetera, with that diagnostic equipment. The Z-vents are what I mentioned as far as the ventilators that we deploy in all of our pre-hospital 911 resources.
And on a personal level, I'd like to thank you for the help that you're giving out in Delaware County. I have quite a few family members who are out there, and they truly appreciate the support that VMSC is giving to the Delaware County residents.
And it's really the support that each of our municipalities who have invested in our organization, we certainly would not be in any capacity to provide any humanitarian aid in those communities without the support of our municipalities. So we feel like we're an extension of the generosity that the North Penn and Indian Valley communities have demonstrated time and time again when there's a disaster, and that's exactly what they have there. So.
Chief, just to add something, I'm not sure that everyone's aware of the national EMS crisis that we're seeing playing out, really, as you mentioned, Commissioner Carter, in Delaware County. But I feel very lucky to be a manager in a community where I know that if someone dials 911 and a first-rate ambulance squad will come and help them. So thank you for taking VMSC, shooting off like a rocket into a lot of great success. I think sometimes we take for granted like innovation and things that you're doing in VMSC, but I know for me going to the blood demonstration that I didn't want to watch, like helped me to understand, wow, this is amazing. Like the fact that we're one of 5 in the Commonwealth, those are speaking to like VMSC is really striving for excellence. And we have something around here that we call a culture of excellence. And I'm happy you're part of our family providing that to our residents. So thank you.
You're welcome. When I came to the North Penn community in 2022, even beforehand, Chief Duffy was on the hiring committee that bushwhacked me into coming here. But I had never been in this part of the Commonwealth. I'd only been on the western side in Pittsburgh area. I was really taken back by the quality of the public services, not just law enforcement and fire, and I felt that you deserve the same level of quality from your EMS provider. So I'm happy to report that I think that we are certainly continue, as you said, shooting off like a star. really got the buy-in of our people. We've got a great culture, and many of the people that work for us live right here in our communities, right, giving back through either volunteerism at fire companies or church groups and baseball teams and soccer. It's just, really become a real integral part of our community. And we're really, happy to be that.
I just wanted to add a little bit about our conversation the other day.
Yes.
I have some commissioner friends from Tinicum and Ridley Township, and they told me what used to be a 4-minute drive to the hospital is now 25 to 30 minutes
Right.
of what's happening in Delaware County. And VMSC was brought up, and I could vouch for you guys and say how wonderful you
Thank
were.
you.
And you alluded to the fact that you can't not do something to help
Right.
because you care. And
Right.
that really was impactful, that that's what you do. And that's
Right.
wonderful. We thank you very much for that, for your whole team. So thank you.
You're welcome. And we feel like it's part of our legacy and Dr. Boston's legacy, who founded our organization, who brought a needed hospital and ambulance corps to our community 100 years ago when there was none, right? So, we feel in honor of his legacy that when there's communities in strife, that if we can help, we want to be part of that. So,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
See you guys.
Now, excuse me, and now I'll turn it over to our township manager, Ms. Adele.
Okay, thank you. So this evening, or not this evening, next week, we have 3 different presentations that the board will be hearing and the residents. The first item will be regarding naming the pedestrian bridge that will ultimately cross the Tomenson Creek. More to come on that next week, as well as a presentation from the wastewater treatment plant team on a sludge study that they recently did, and also our awesome fire marshal and awesome police department, in concert with VMSC, have put together a Stop the Bleed program, which is a community program that we'll be presenting on as well. And I think it's Lauren's turn to announce the executive sessions.
Thank you. The board met in executive session on April 24th to discuss matters of personnel, and again earlier this evening discuss matters of potential litigation.
Thank you. Next up, we have our public comments. We had some residents who were concerned that if we answered any question offline, then residents wanted to hear the answer publicly would be left out. So we will continue to share any answers to questions that were posed publicly, but were answered privately at the following public meeting. First up for our public comment this evening.
Important.
First up for our public is Fred Hankin.
Hi, good evening. Couple things. Last month, you combined the workshop and the regular meetings into one. And so I filed a right to know with the township regarding whether this change in meeting had been publicized. And Megan was kind enough to respond and say that I guess when the 2025 calendar is published, it notes that any changes to the calendar dates would be advertised or communication would be on the township website. Is that correct? Right. So I just happened to notice last week. So I read the classifieds. I don't know if anyone else reads them anymore or not, but I do. But last week I noticed that the Sallerton School District made a calendar change that was advertised in the Reporter. So I was just going to suggest that maybe in the future, the township also use the classified section of the newspaper to notify residents of meeting changes. Is that something we might be able to do?
I can't answer if we might be able to do that, but I can answer that we're not required to do that via law.
I appreciate the fact you're not required.
Yeah, and I don't know if the school district is
For me,
required.
it's more transparency.
That would be up to the board, and I'm sure they'll take your comment.
I'm looking at the board as a transparency because I've been here several years now and we hear transparency all the time. And I think a transparent way of doing this might do that. I appreciate that.
Fred, but on that point,
Yeah.
it was in fact noticed to the public, though, that it was going to be a dual session. So transparency was absolutely honored and provided in that case. So I just think it's a little misrepresentative to say that since you want transparency, we should possibly advertise in the newspaper, because I just want to say that there was in fact total transparency and compliance with the law.
Let me rephrase that. It'd be maybe more transparency, but it's not that you weren't transparent. It's my understanding of changes in public meetings is they get publicized in the legal notices, and that's where I was looking for it. And I didn't see it. Finding out it was on the website. It was just a learning experience. But I'm not accusing anybody of not being transparent. I'm saying it might have been more transparent for people like me that read the classifieds. That's all I'm saying. It was not a gotcha question. Nothing
Understood.
Like that.
Fred, I was here that night for my office hours, and everybody must have gotten the memo because nobody showed up.
Okay.
So nobody came, and I
Anyway,
was here
yeah,
to.
and we,
Yep.
we chatted about that too.
Yep, so
And I'm not
nobody
pointing,
came.
I'm not finger pointing. I was just making a comment, that's all. Second thing had to do with the gazebo, or beloved gazebo. Could anyone tell me when it was first discovered to be in such disrepair to the point that it had to be torn down?
Fred, it's a over 30-year-old gazebo made of wood that wasn't treated. It was maintained very regularly by our staff every year, including the years when I wasn't manager here and someone else was, up till today, all by the same person, our park maintenance supervisor, who determined that it was unsafe. We discussed it publicly at several of our budget work sessions, one of which you attended, but I don't know if we specifically discussed
I
that
don't
at that
remember
one.
the conversation.
Probably not, because it wasn't our
I was at
capital.
the meeting though, yes.
Yeah, it wasn't our capital. It was when we talked about the capital at the first
Okay.
budget work session. So I know it was publicly said then, but internally discussed many times, as well as internally discussed that it wasn't necessarily useful for the modern park and rec programming that we have now. But it was taken down due to safety reasons. Part of the CPROS program, the planning process for the park, we discussed that we probably need 2 pavilions, one that would be much smaller out in Parkside Place because our current pavilion's rather large. So the goal is to replace the gazebo with a gazebo-esque pavilion structure within the next few years. But it probably won't be made of wood because we're trying, it's harder to maintain, harder to keep it for, if the community loves it, if it's made of something that's not wood, we may be able to keep it longer.
Yeah, it was a little near and dear to my heart since we were a part of that. It was a lot of people said,
I know
"Oh
it
my
was very
gosh, what
near and dear to
happened?"
Len Perone, our former manager as well.
Yeah, exactly. So I just also want to mention that the gazebo is still on your slideshow on the township.
We love the gazebo.
Yeah.
Just because we had to take it down doesn't mean we don't love it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, thank you very
sorry.
much. I just had a couple questions, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, William Jackson.
William Jackson, I'm a resident of West Point. I'm here tonight to speak in support of item number 23 on tonight's agenda, which is, I'm not sure if it's for a vote, but it's to support the funding of the engineering for the segment of the Liberty Bell Trail. I just want to note that it's a significant amount of money, and I thought the explanation that was in the documentation supplied talked about how typically engineering is not covered under grants, but we did get about a third of it covered under grants. So the proposal tonight is for the other 2/3. I would just say that this is not like a single event. This is something that I've been participating in since I think 2020 when there was, I can't remember if it was a comprehensive plan, whatever.
Liberty Bell feasibility study.
Sure, yeah, but even the other one where we talked about like connectivity along Town Pike and the bridge that was mentioned earlier, making that part of the creek crossing down there. So it's something that has to be done to move things forward. And I was at a trail summit down in Delaware County a couple months ago, and they talked about things moving at trail time and that it's much slower than normal time. And as I come to these meetings and I understand all the things that's involved, not just in getting the funding, but in the engineering and everything that takes place. I understand why it takes time. So I just want to emphasize for the folks that are, elected officials now versus 5 years ago when all this started, that this is just one more step in a progress of finally getting the trails built out and getting the communities connected. And I want to just note that it's important for both recreation and transportation. It was part of the commitment that was made as part of the Liberty Bell Trail planning back in 2020 to build it out between Upper Gwynedd, Lansdale, and Hatfield. And I would just also say it will have a positive impact economically. Last year, some friends of mine, we got together and we rode from Parkside Place along the intended trail over to Hatfield. And this was not a Bike North Penn ride. This was a very informal ride, but we ate and drank our way back, stopping at various places. And I know that once the trail is connected through, that will be an opportunity for people to ride in and patronize some of the businesses, including the ones here along the trail in Upper Gwynedd Township. So I'm here as a resident and a member of Bike North Penn to support that resolution when you get to it. Also note that on the 30th of May, we're doing a community ride in Upper Gwynedd Township. We're going to start and end over at Pizza Time Saloon. And we'd love any of you and any of the staff from the township who want to get a bicycle-sized view of that side of the township. It'll be about an hour ride. You just need to show up on a bike and we'll get you there and back, and hopefully it'll be enjoyable. So thanks for your time.
Bill,
Thank
can I
you.
have that flyer to share with the staff? Or do you want to email me one?
I've got some small ones I can leave.
Okay, thank you.
Next up, Judy Vose. Did I say that correctly?
Yeah, my last name gets mispronounced all the time. I usually say like Rose with a V. Hopefully that'll help. So I'd like to talk about two things. So I'll do the easy one first and the more complicated one second. The first one is I live in the Gwynedd Deer development, about a quarter mile away from Merck. I've been there for over 30 years. And I noticed recently that the noise coming from Merck has gotten much more pronounced. I don't myself have the ability to do a sound study, but I suspect that their recent improvements on their campus have led to more equipment. It sounds like continuous fans or cooling towers or motors of some sort, but it's very continuous. And it's not all the time. It might be like for an 8-hour period or something like that, right through the night, during the day, early morning, Saturday morning. It's very prominent, very easy to hear these things. So,
Judy, I'm sorry to interrupt, and this won't count against your time. Megan, how often does Merck send us that study? I can't recall. Is it quarterly? Oh, yearly. Okay. So annually from Merck, we get a sound study where they do report to us, like they don't do it themselves. They hire a third-party firm to study the sound coming off the campus. I don't recall off the top of my head when we usually get that, but we'll definitely compare it to what we've had in the past and report on that to you, as well as, I don't know, if you're lodging like a formal complaint, we can explore it a bit more as well if you don't want to wait for that sound study. You don't have to do that publicly. You can communicate with me via email at a later date.
okay.
All right.
Sounds good.
Continue on with.
Okay. All right. So my second is similar to William Jackson. I also, during this item 23, the decision to a motion to approve the execution of the multimodal transportation grant for the Liberty Bell Trail engineering. I do encourage you to proceed with the engineering with the hopes that we will be able to develop further our biking infrastructure. I think that it's very important for not just me, but the whole community. There's so many advantages to being able to develop it. I'll just say the top three that come to mind for me, and that is it's better for the environment. Every car that you can take off the streets is better, for the air and the breathing. It also reduces the wear and tear on roads. It reduces the need to further expand the road infrastructure, which eventually reduces the impact on the environment. In other words, more roads, greater impact on the environment. Fewer roads, a softer impact on the environment. And then thirdly, not thirdly, but still on that same point about roads, that also reduces the tax burden, I would think, or at least keeps it down. Then the third advantage is it's better for us physically. It gives us an opportunity to exercise. And you probably heard me coughing. I'm sorry about that. I did ride my bike over, and I probably took, exactly, I took big gulps of pollen on my way over. But I think it's very forward. It's really an advantage in so many regards to develop the biking infrastructure for the safety of the residents, but also to promote local commerce. And then, like Bill mentioned, the idea of it's not just recreation, it's also utility. It's being able to get to the doctor's appointment or go visit your friends or go to the grocery store or go to CVS or go to the deli or things to that nature, rather than all the local commuting. It's really, it develops a nicer community as well. So, all right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. That ends our public comments. I'll now turn the meeting back over to Sandra Zadell.
Thank you, President Carter. Megan, can you pull up my presentation? Thank you, Megan. All right, so as we've done the last few years, last year when the board was newly elected, we got together for a goal-setting workshop that was a public meeting and set out some, I don't know where I'm supposed to be pointing this. Where do I point it, Josh? Anywhere. Boom. Oh, that's the pointer. I don't know what, there's that. This, there we go. You just had to step closer to me, Josh, and it always fixes the problem. Okay. Your presence is the winning factor. Okay, so anyway, back to, just open back up what I was looking at, which now is gone. Okay. So here are our goals that were the high priority goals. The goals were selected, set in 3 different ways: high, medium, and low. So I'm going to go through each item and talk about what we've done or are still working on this project, on these projects. So the first item was critical infrastructure and making upgrades to the township building that have occurred over the past few years. So that goal is actually achieved. These goals were set for 24 and 25. We also have a few items, that little brick symbol is what I'm using for, we're still working on it. So our critical infrastructure at the wastewater treatment plant, we did the WIP project, we have additional capacity. I would say we are well on our way to, and we are currently handling all the wastewater that we get. So I feel that this will soon be a check mark. It's just not quite there yet, but I'm pretty confident by the end of 2025 that'll be done. Start construction or final design on a trails project, very germane to item 23. Excited to hopefully get permission from the board to start that engineering and final design. And there we go. All right. Economic development, we discussed continuing education for the public on affordable housing and its impacts in the township. We continue to have a Get the Facts page on our website about the specific affordable housing development proposed here previously, as well as just some information about the LIHTAP program and other programs used for affordable housing. So I'm considering that goal is achieved. Government operations, foster a culture of excellence amongst township staff. This is something that I've been talking about for a couple years now. Things we do in real life to talk with our employees and show the public that we are dedicated to excellence are we make sure to highlight our successes. We are really lucky. We get a lot of great comments from residents. I'd say almost every month we get an email or a thank you call from residents talking about one of our departments and how they've helped them. So that is what a culture of excellence means to us, that our residents are well served. Next up, government operations, consolidation of fire services with strategic partners. This is also something we're actively working on. We have a study happening currently with DCD on the fire services around us and how we could work together. I'm not sure if it will be for the purpose of consolidation, but we are trying to work with other partners and find a vision that will support the new way of fire services, which is everything is really expensive and volunteers are ever shrinking. So the resources are finite. We're trying to find the best way to stretch them. And last, people and environment, finalize subdivision and land development and zoning ordinance updates that incorporate green infrastructure. We also achieved that. So I feel we're doing a great job. We're a little over halfway completed on the goals, and we still have quite a bit of 2025 left. So are there any questions on the high priority goals or any comments from the board? No? Okay. Medium priority goals are the next set of slides. We have continued the quarterly Commissioner's Corner. That has not actually been happening, but we can continue to work on it. We have different commissioners that have submitted different information for the Gazette, and we would love to continue to have that happen. Civic engagement, begin discussions on Norgwin's pool's future. That has definitely occurred this year, and definitely probably something we'll be talking about for the duration of the future, I would think, as the pool is an aging infrastructure that's definitely going to need to be addressed. It's not a township, just to clarify, we don't own the pool. It is operated by a different organization, but it is on our property. And if they can no longer operate, I think we're who's left. So we like to stay involved in what's happening there. They have a new director, and we worked with them to help through that process. Critical infrastructure, identify stormwater projects and prioritize the worst areas. We have definitely been doing that the last couple of years. And that has resulted into a lot of improved stormwater in our neighborhoods. We also have explored English as a second language translations for the community. Just last week, I was up at the reception desk and our receptionist was using Google Translate to help someone at the counter. So it's definitely working for us. Lastly, our low priority goals. I don't know why anyone would call these low priority because the first one is my favorite goal and I'm going to achieve it. Boom. Oops, I didn't mean to end the slide. I just wanted to say that I feel very passionate about this one. I didn't put in animation for this one, but the Citizens Academy is something I've wanted to bring to the township since the first year I was manager, and I can officially announce that today I worked on it. So that is so exciting for me. I know, I'm very excited. The purpose of a Citizens Academy is to invite interested residents, like most of the residents in this room. I think I actually know all of you because you're kind of our regular group. You're the group that's targeted for this, as well as people that have no idea what we do at the township. And the purpose is to introduce all of our departments to our residents and make sure they know what our operations are, how we can help you, and how you can get involved, which is important to us. Educational events of interest for senior residents is something that's important in the Park and Rec department, and they've been working on. I know they did a Mahjong class, and I think there have been a couple other things they're trying. Again, these are lower priority. Right. Well, they do have the award-winning senior games program that's done throughout Montgomery County, which is great, and they're continuing to try to add more programming. Let's see. Evolve the sidewalk project from North Penn High School to Parkside Place and converse with Towmenson Township to reconfigure the Valley Forge Road and Sumneytown Pike intersection. Whew, that's a doozy for one little block. So we've done a little bit of this in the plan to move the bridge up to the Towmenson Creek. It sort of addresses a portion of this because it will increase the walkability close to the high school. We're not quite there yet. We've had conversations with Towmenson. I think I saw something that the school district was working on this. Is that?
The school district, I saw an article that the school district is actually going to do a study of that intersection, talking about widening it.
Great.
So that is actually.
I'm happy to have anyone else complete our goals.
My guess is they will involve us in that conversation as they start to talk about finances, but Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure. I hope we'll be involved, and obviously it's something important to a lot of our residents. And last, launch an annual music and arts festival integrating it into an existing event. We have not achieved that yet, but I would say the Unity for Kindness Day is a great event where we incorporate arts and food together with music. So we're on our way is where I would leave this goals report. Is there anything that anyone on the board had any questions or comments on?
Just that we're making some good efforts. So, yeah, keep up the good work.
Okay.
And the low priority, I know, for the 55 and better senior residents, we're working on a survey to put out to see if there is any interest in that. I'm still trying to figure out a good name because Shug isn't working. Seniors of Upper Gwynedd, Shug. It wasn't working, but there's a lot of municipalities around the area that do have a programs, and I think Sarah and her team have done an amazing job with getting the littles, the middle kids, age kids, the teens now. So perhaps the next step would be a group with 55 and better. I don't like the word senior. 55 and better. So there'll be a survey out hopefully next couple months to see if there's any interest in that. So maybe like a little check mark there next to that one.
I also think that we have a lot to be proud of, that we have accomplished so much. It always feels like there's so much going on, that we're just busting at the seams, like everybody is just, their plates are so overflowing, that when you sit down and look at all of the goals that we picked 2 years ago, it's amazing to me to see how many have been either completely accomplished or are almost accomplished, halfway accomplished, or at least we've put our toe in the water and we've started to scratch the surface or get that moving. It's pretty ambitious, and I'm pretty proud of us that we've accomplished this much. And I like that we do this every year to touch base, even on the year that wasn't the actual designation of these goals. I think especially this year, it's great to remind ourselves of all of these.
Thank you. Any comments from the residents or questions? Come on up to the podium. Couldn't think of the word.
Carl Smith. Yeah, the question I have, you mentioned affordable housing education. Outside of Pembroke Parkway, what is the focus of the board for that?
Well, I can't necessarily speak on the focus of the board. They can answer that one for you, but I can answer the focus of the staff. So at every training I attend, statewide and nationally, affordable housing is a crisis in our country. So it's something that like the planning partners and organizations that work with municipalities are talking to us about. We want to make sure our residents are aware, because here in Upper Gwynedd, we're pretty lucky and it's not always obvious that affordable housing is a crisis. But I have thought a lot about it when Shane was talking about what's gone on with VMSC, that EMTs are the better paid, or paramedics, I don't know, but they're the lowest paid medical professionals that exist, and we really need them. So that's why affordable housing is important from a staff perspective. I don't know what the board would say.
I can say from at least this board member's perspective, education is very important, because I've heard a number of comments throughout the public meeting component of this, even 2 years ago, where just mischaracterization of the program is Section 8, Section 8, Section 8. I don't know how many times I've heard that phrase in this room and throughout the community members. Nothing in the Pembroke Parkway project is Section 8 housing.
No, Greg, that's a mischaracterization of what I was.
Carl, I was asked for my comments, so I'm just giving it. So for the educational component from this commissioner's perspective, I think it's very important to dissuade some of the fears and concerns, but also the basic educational component of what exactly are we talking about and how are these things funded, so misrepresentations don't get out there.
I'd like to respond to that, Greg, because many times you and others made comments that we were calling it Section 8. That never happened. It's subsidized housing. And it is subsidized housing. I don't care how you want to twist the language. That's what's going on here. So it's actually corrupt and a misrepresentation on your part to do that. And that happens a lot. And it's to marginalize the argument. Okay? So when the end user does not pay the full freight, it's subsidized. So let's just be honest with the language. That's all I'm asking.
I think everybody had agreed that it's subsidized through taxes, or tax credits,
Well,
rather.
not at first.
But what I think I did in fact hear, and what we did hear from the members of the public, is that same phrase repeated over Section 8 housing. And that's just a misunderstanding of how it was funded. So I was really grateful for the Walters Group to come many times to kind of walk through exactly what that looks like, and the safety studies and everything else to assuage some of the concerns of the public. So I think the educational component is paramount. Thank you.
And if I could add to that, I recently was at I sit on the board for First Class Townships. I represent all First Class Townships in the Commonwealth. And we had an overview of the governor's budget. And a big part of that was a housing action plan. And we're commending Governor for elevating the housing crisis as a statewide priority. So again, just to go with what Greg was saying, we have information and education. I've been collecting it for years now. And it's just a way for us to educate ourselves and to help educate so that we're all on the same page with the definitions and the understanding of where money comes from, what affordable housing is. But since it is such a statewide issue, I think, educating for those that want it, to help them understand what we're talking about is important. And I know, as I said, I've been attending a lot of things with it, so I myself can understand, so that we can have conversations about it and try to agree to disagree on things, or maybe agree on things.
Well, I don't think we're going to agree, but I think we should agree on having a fair conversation and being honest with the terms. And I'd also like to make a comment that we're not going to agree because the solution you have in mind is to make people permanent tenants. That is not an optimistic future for anybody. And to sell that to the public and to sell that to people that, in your mind or in your words, are in need is, I think, a disservice. That's my opinion. That's the opinion of a lot of people. That's actually the opinion of what the citizens of this great country had for many years. So to marginalize their future by saying, oh, you're going to be a tenant your whole life and have nothing, just pay, and the government will subsidize you because you can't afford it.
Carl, that's not correct.
Oh, that's pretty close to, a lot
government is
closer to being
not-
correct than where you are, how you're
Well,
presenting.
I would like you to let me speak because I haven't said anything about that. But the funding for the Walters Group program is through the LITAP program, which gives tax credits to corporations and banks to be able to fund their project. That sounds different than what you just said. Which
It's a
made
money
me-
laundering
when I heard it-
operation. Stop it. I know what's
Okay.
going on. Most people can, yes, I do actually. Actually, when it's subsidized, just what Greg said. So you're trying to make it sound like it's not. And these people are
Regardless
tenants.
of what it is, we'll continue to share the details of the LITAP program, and you are
controversial.
welcome to your opinion about
Of
it.
course I am. And it's controversial, and it's, as we've
It is,
said
yes.
before, it's going to be litigated. So that's what I have to say.
Carl, I do want to thank you, though, for pointing out the necessity for further education on this very important issue. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Anyone else have any comments on the goals? Great. I'll turn it back over to you, President Carter.
Next up, number 11 on our agenda, Planning and Zoning Report, Mr. Conroy.
Presentation or PowerPoint. Sorry about that. Can't follow that.
Hard to follow.
First things first, 1327 East Prospect Ave. I got nothing new. Every month, they're calling me saying we're going to submit plans. They literally called me last week wanting to submit plans on Thursday to get on this month's agenda. I've heard nothing since. So I don't know what's up with them. 1500 Pembroke. We're still in a standstill. We're going over some landscaping as well as some sanitary sewer issues. So nothing really new to report there. 351 Sumneytown, the Merck building. They are probably beyond next month for approval. They just submitted revised plans last week, so we're going to be reviewing them. And once we get some cleaner review letters, hopefully it'll be on next month for your action. And then 2 zoning hearing board applications this month, both asking for an in-law suite. The first one at 1113 Church Street, they want to put an in-law suite above their detached garage. And the other one is 653 Sumney Town. They're just building an addition onto their house for an in-law suite. Our code states an in-law suite has to be within the existing footprint of the existing dwelling. So they're adding like a little bump out to the rear of their house for this in-law suite. But that's really all I have this month. Anyone have any questions? Just holler. Good.
Nick?
Thanks.
So for this month, I just wanted to give a couple of project updates. For the Haynes Run Stream Bank Restoration Project, since we last spoke, they installed the stepping stones for the Green Ribbon Trail. They look really good. They kind of look like elongated home plates, baseball. It's the same type of stepping stones they have over the Wissahickon if you follow along the trail. So I think once the project's wrapped up and people are able to really utilize the trail, they're going to be really happy with that, because before it was just some concrete blocks that were just thrown into the stream, essentially. Not by us. It wasn't by us. But I think this will be a lot better for the walkers and runners in the area. And then for the 2025 road program, the project was awarded last month, as you guys know, and contracts have been finalized. So now we have a pre-con meeting set up next week, and the work should begin within the next few weeks. Megan and the township will be sending out notices to the residents prior to the work starting, and the contractor is going to give advance notice for all of the residents who are going to be affected by the work.
Thank you. Turn it back over to you, Sandra.
Okay, great.
No, Sumneytown Pike was done by North Wales Water Authority. So they are wrapping up the paving for that work. I think they did the milling, which everybody's probably noticed who has driven on Sumneytown Pike. And they are going to be doing the paving, I guess, as the weather clears up here. The rain's going to be holding them off. And then I believe they're going to be doing Saturday work for the intersection there at the intersection of Sumneytown Pike and Broad Street.
Thanks for that update and that question, Fred. Yes, Bill. Yeah, I know. We're glad, though, that we have that. Yeah, you're welcome.
William Jackson, West Point. A couple months ago, I was at a meeting here, and there was approval for a study of the intersection of Sumneytown and Supley. What's there at the right? So was that completed? And now that they're milling the Sumneytown through there, is it going to change the paint or anything, or is that studies?
School?
Yeah.
Remember that's
Oh, yeah, but nothing is planned to be changed there.
Okay.
Just there's this certain officer, he shall not be named, that likes to make sure he hits that intersection because there's a lot of violators.
Okay.
well, and that's a township initiative, and
Yes.
we're talking about, Nick is talking about a county,
No, he's talking about the water authority
the water authority for Sumneytown Pike.
because they installed so many curb
Oh, right there.
cuts and trenches replacing the water main. They're now doing the paving.
Yes.
But at Supley, there was not a.
Let me be clear about my question. There's milling down at the Supley-Sumneytown intersection.
Oh,
Will the paint that goes down after that resurfacing done,
Thank you.
will it be influenced by this study that was approved of the intersection a couple months ago, or?
the study of the intersection was at church for pedestrian
Really?
crossings. Yes.
Okay.
So Supley, what is happening?
I thought there was a problem with the merge at Supley.
We're talking about the trail.
There was no study planned.
We're
just going to add more, we were going to paint the roadway.
Oh, I'm
Going
sorry.
into your property.
Okay.
Okay, sorry, I'm
Sorry.
confused.
No, it's okay. I just couldn't put the projects together. I don't know why there's milling at Supley. Do you know?
No, so it's the intersection of Supley and
Sumneytown.
Sumneytown.
Yes, so it's part of the project.
The water main ties into Supley, so
Okay.
it goes like 10 or 20 feet in.
But it's
So-
not the side where the turn is the problem. It's like that part hasn't been milled. It's the other
It's
side.
the other side of
other
the road.
side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
The North Wales Water Project extends into the county's section of Sumney Town Pike. So our section we have the intersection at Saplee, and then we own Sumney Town Pike from Samantha Court until Broad Street. And then it goes back to the county, I believe,
Yes,
from that point. So,
and then back to us.
and then back to us. So we just made sure that the paving that's going to be done in our section was squared away correctly. They were getting all the striping that was needed.
And there was
then
no
the county
change
was
to the
doing the same.
striping.
Yes, correct.
And I think as far as the signs go at that intersection, Bill, that you're asking about, we've evaluated it with our traffic calming committee, and it's very sign saturated already, and we're not having success. So we're going to continue to have it as a marked enforcement area, because I think that that's the best success we can have is when people make the mistake. We advise them that they've made a mistake. Okay, I think it's me now. Thank you for that report, Nick. Item 13 will be going on the consent agenda, as well as items 14 and 15, or just 14, sorry. We have presented to the board for your consideration next week a new vesting schedule for our employees' pension plan, which I will go over in one moment. Okay. So currently we have two pension plans at the township. One is for uniform officers and another is for non-uniform employees. It's a defined contribution plan for the non-uniform employees. One thing that we're finding in trying to hire staff, which I'm sure is similar for many businesses in our community, is that the newer wave of employees that we're hiring have different expectations regarding work than we've all had previously in previous generations, et cetera. One of the things we'd like to do to continue our attractiveness as an employer is change our vesting schedule. Currently, if you've been here for 5 years, you're 50% vested. If you're here 7 years, you get to 100%. We're looking to give some buy-in of vesting at earlier years to also have some of our employees pay more attention to their pensions and retirement thoughts. Nick's smiling, but the younger employees, not to blame them, they just don't think about retirement at all, really. And it's a constant, not all of them, some of them are very, conscientious. But myself, I'll just use me as an example. I was not conscientious about pensions until I was probably about 30. So we're looking to change it just slightly. There is not a large cost or really any cost at this time associated with the change. So while we're currently 50% at 5 years and 7% at 7%, 7 years, you get 100%. We're looking to go with a 20% each year up to year 5 to get to vesting. So total vesting will occur 2 years earlier. And in those earlier years, you will get some part of that pension that we've given you if you leave, versus our current situation, you will get nothing if you leave. Are there any questions?
One second, Fred. It sounds like we're incentivizing leaving.
That is how it sounds, but that's not the case necessarily. When people leave us, they're not going to be like, "Ooh, I'm getting 20% of 1 year of my pension contribution, which is only 7.5% of my salary." I think that what we're saying is employees pay attention to your salary or to your pension, participate in our 457 plan, which is voluntary. And it's just another way to benefit employees. It's not necessarily saying, we hope you leave and take 20% of your pension in year 1. We're trying to stimulate our employees to stay. It's really an employee-friendly. It's employee-friendly, but we're not trying to say leave after a year.
And I think it makes us potentially more competitive. I think
In hiring.
other employers also have a similar vested schedule like that.
We did study, 10 to 12 other municipalities in the area, and by far our pension vesting schedule was much more rigid than others. It's typical that within 5 years of municipal work, you would be vested.
Fred?
Could you come to the mic, Fred? I'm sorry, but people might want to hear your question at home too.
So it's not really a pension.
Yeah.
It's
Sorry,
not-
Fred.
It's not a pension as we used to know a pension.
It's not a defined benefit pension.
you.
That's like the old school
Yeah,
municipal
that's why I
pension.
want to confirm. Thank you.
Our police have a defined benefit pension. The rest of us, Yeah, that gets much more expensive. This is our employees get 7.5% of their salary into this program. So like your question, Catherine, what they would get in year one would be 20% of 7.5% on a $100,000 salary. Yeah, that's, so it's not a huge loss for the township. It's a small thing we can do to be more employee friendly.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay, that'll be decided, voted on next week. We're also looking for approval of a contract with Boyle Construction, and this really goes in line with the goals that we looked at earlier. So all along, when we had this building renovation program in mind, we started with the highest priority, which was securing our workspace for our employees. There are still some changes we would like to make to this room, to the conference rooms, and to Josh's area for televising our meetings and things like that. Typically, it's best for someone like Josh, who's operating the controls, to be in a separate room. That way, everyone might remember at the beginning of Zoom when we were here, we'd have people like running out of the room so that they could hear what the residents were talking about. So Boyle Construction is a wonderful company. I've worked with them previously. They do a great job. And we're looking to have them do a feasibility study for the things that we're thinking about doing on this side of the building in advance of budget time. So we'll be prepared to discuss it at budget time. And we also wanted to announce that our summer meeting dates, we will only be having one meeting in the months in the summer, June 9th, June 14th, and August 11th. July 14th. Thank you. In Commissioner Moody's section, we have an approval of the in-law agreement for 1977 West Point Pike. I'd be comfortable with that going on the consent agenda. Are you comfortable? Okay. Approval of a MERC waiver request. That's also a consent agenda item for after-hours work on May 11th, June 1st, and June 8th. So might be a little louder, Judy. It's an exhaust fan on those dates. And then we have a couple escrow releases. So actually, Commissioner Moody, your whole section might move to the consent agenda. So Commissioner Hull has nothing in her section for public safety this month. Commissioner Mull has for Park and Rec and Public Works approval of the CIPP payment to SWRP in the amount of I don't have my reading glasses today, so $586,616.41. This is the spray lining project that we do each year. I do want to point out to the board and the public that we are going to go over budget a bit this year based on the timing of the work that occurred in 2024. So because the work in 2024 actually got pushed to 2025, we're basically doing 2024 and 2025's work in 2025. That is not actually costing us more because this is capital work and it was already planned to be spent in 2024. So we're spending the same total amount. We're just pushing it all into 1 year to get it all done, which we did get done.
So we underspent last year.
And we're making up for it this year.
Okay.
Correct. Okay. Really having trouble with this. Going back to the agenda. There we go. Okay. After that, SWRP payment, which could go on the consent agenda as well. We are at a decision item for the board. The only reason this is a decision item is that the grant only gives us so much time to consider the contract and decide to sign it. Megan has put up the sign so you can see the section of trail, or put up the map so you can see the section of trail that we're talking about. Oh boy, and I have a pointer. Is it going to work, Josh? Oh, it doesn't. I pushed the wrong button. There we go. Oh my gosh, this is so exciting. So there's Stony Creek Park in Lansdale. This is the section of trail that we're going to be working on the engineering for.
Red line.
It's orange. Yeah, it's a Liberty Bell. My pointer is red. This is the trail proposed. It is technically part of the Liberty Bell Trail, as Mr. Jackson spoke about earlier, but it also connects to our other main trail system, which is the Powerline Trail, both which had feasibility studies recently. So the grant is for $50,000, which is slightly less than what we asked for. But as I say in my memo, it is very rare to get engineering grants. Typically, when we're building trails, we're paying for the engineering and using that as a match to get construction funding. So hopefully I'm always trying to pull another Haynes run out of my pocket. Hopefully we'll be able to stack different grant program applications to be able to construct this trail, but we'd like to start with the engineering. And I will need approval from the board.
Why is it not typical to get engineering costs?
Just engineering, it's always easier to get construction money because grant funding sources want to be able to deliver something tangible, like you built a trail. Engineering is, oh, you made a plan, and then maybe someday the trail will get built. So, I mean, it's just the fact. It's very rare that we also got engineering funding. You know all the different grant funding projects we have, which is about 3.9 million in the last since 2020. And I'd say 2 of them were for maybe 2 or 3 for 2 or 3 of that 3.9 was included engineering. So, any other questions? Turn that over to you, President Carter, for a vote on that item. 23.
Motion to approve execution of the multi-module transportation grant contract for the Liberty Bell Trail Engineering. Can I have a second?
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. Do we have any board comments? Any public comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. And last in Commissioner Mull's section for decision next week will be the approval of the Flyers Alumni Association charity bike ride on Sunday, June 22nd. This just is going through a small section of the township along Morris Road and West Point Pike.
Sandra, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Not regarding 24, back to 22.
Sorry.
Has the work already been done?
22.
2024?
Yeah.
So all the spray lining for 2024
2024
has been completed as of May 5th.
and 2025.
Both of them have been completed
All done.
as of May 5th of 2020.
Am I wrong, Nick? You're making a face. Oh, yeah. No, it's all done. We have,
That's amazing,
yeah.
by the way.
it's very exciting to get it done so early.
Amazing. Amazing.
Wow.
Okay. Excellent work. Thank you, Public Works.
You're welcome. Public Works and also Bob Hegedus from our wastewater department got involved and really helped
Oh, right.
as well.
Oh, that's right. Prior
Bob
he
and
did.
Dave, yeah.
Thank you so much to Bob and Dave at all Public Works, because that is amazing and a first.
And while we're talking about Public Works, I have an exciting thing I'd like to share about our Public Works department. We had an amazing director for 51 years, Willard Troxel, who retired recently. We went through an internal hiring process and do have a new Public Works director. It'll be splashed out on social media coming soon and in the Gazette next week, but his name is John Chabala, and he was previously our park foreman. So very recognizable guy. You've probably seen him if you come to any of our park events. He drives the tractor. He makes it all happen. We're really excited that we had the talent within our organization to elevate John to the Public Works Director position, and we all wish him the best of luck in the new role.
Before we move off of parks, I just wanted to also mention the Unity for Kindness Festival and just say thanks to the Parks Department for all of the work that they did to put on that festival. If anybody went to that this weekend, it was awesome. It was really great. Couldn't have had better weather. So thanks to everyone that went, and thanks for the Parks Department and staff for putting it together.
Thank you.
Great. Finally, in the wastewater department, I'm sorry. If you don't mind, could you come up to the, sorry, no one can hear you if you don't come up.
I also wanted to thank, I guess it's the Environmental Committee for providing free plants.
Yes, we
Very
cannot, I mean, we would be remiss to not mention that huge line of residents that were so excited to get their free native plants. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we
Thanks
sold
for
out in
pointing that
about,
out.
sold out. We weren't charging, but in about an hour and a half.
Yeah, I get it.
It was like 5,500?
500.
500.
500, yep.
I had an extra
We're
zero,
55.
sorry. That would have been a lot of plants.
KK back, she missed it.
Yeah, you had to get there right at the beginning to get that. So, all right. So, oh, sorry, am I missing anything else? Okay. Final section, wastewater Commissioner Carter section. We have a payment to for the Merck pump station upgrades. Remember, this is a pass through that Merck reimburses us for. That will go on the consent agenda, as well as an approval for a proposal from Barton and LaJudas for a study to standardize our wastewater treatment facility financial practices. So it's pretty customary about every 10 years to do a study of your billing and how you do it. There's lots of different ways to bill for wastewater. You can bill on, and there's commercial and residential. And you can bill based on gallons used, like some organizations use the water meters to gauge sewer rates. We currently have many different ways that we bill residents and businesses in the township. There's like lots of different ways that it's been set up through time. We'd like to do an evaluation of that and make sure that it's equitable and that each customer and property owner is paying appropriately for sewer in the township. That part of the study, I think, will be to look for anyone that we've missed that we're not billing, which we do have diligent staff that work on that all the time. Our wastewater department does serve like about 5 or 6 other municipalities, and sometimes, especially in those other municipalities, when a new neighborhood's built, getting all the information shared to get them online to be a billed customer is a challenge. So we'd like to do a study and just make sure that everything we think we're collecting, we're receiving, and that we're doing it in the best and most fair way possible. So the study is being proposed, and it will take some time to review it, and staff would then report back to the board on what the study found, similar to the sludge study.
So this is just a study.
Just a study. We want to see what's going on.
So I was at Unity for Kindness Day, and I spoke to a resident who is with us tonight, Mr. Jackson. And one of the things that he said is when we discuss things, we should discuss it more out in public. So I think tonight's meeting, there's been a lot of discussion back and forth. And so this is for you, Mr. Jackson. I contacted Sandra today and asked her about this study and questions about this, and she answered them. So instead of me not sharing, I asked Sandra, why is the current method so outdated? And she answered that for us. And when was the last study done? And you said it's usually done every 10 years.
10 years, I think, is pretty standard. And we looked back about 15 years. We have no evidence of any study happening in the last 15 years in Upper Gwynedd.
So we tend to ask Sandra when we get the agenda. If we have questions, we tend to ask her before the meetings, just in case. But when I was talking to Sandra about this, residents can call too if they want to know more about it and they can't attend the meeting. Sandra or Megan or whomever is available, or Brian is available for. Just how to wake you up there and get you off the phone. No, I just don't want to, not give you any, acknowledgement tonight. You're here. So, and we're here to answer any questions that you might have, prior to the meeting, just to get more clarification. But thank you for pointing that out, Bill, and we'll try to do more of that. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, and President Carter, unless anyone else had anything on that. President Carter, back to you to close it out.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to ratify the proposal from Blooming Glen Contractor for the Merck Pump Station valve replacements in the amount of $11,115.68. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any board comments? Any public comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
And at the next meeting, you'll have the approval of the April and May open invoices and paid invoices. It's 2 months because we only had the one meeting last month. And that's it.
Thank you all for coming out this evening. This meeting's adjourned.